The difference is exactly those $2 amounts. Because we have to, because when you take a loan from the state, you have to set aside money and say you're going to use these funds to pay back that loan. So you have to separate it out. Yep, because otherwise it's not clear that that money is getting set aside. Correct.
The state dictates that.
Yeah, so then you have to show it that you're pulling it out. You know what I mean? Specifically for that project.
She's only getting 3 minutes.
Okay. So we're gonna put a committee together to talk about that shop. You interested?
Sure.
Okay.
3 minutes. Huh? Jana's explained this to her already.
Well, we have everything actually on our website. Have you guys
Jana?
ever seen that?
So we won't really
Yeah.
discuss it much tonight.
Well, does it make it clear the whole,
It's pretty solid.
reduces it from,
Well, no, we don't explain that because I guess.
because that's the key thing. The key thing is it
We
was,
wanna get together.
I'm just using,
$4
it was
Discuss
$50.
things.
Now
Before
it's
we decide.
$4 are taken out of
I figured
the
you had a
customer
lot of
charge.
shop.
Yeah.
And then,
$9.20.
we're taking out of the base.
Right.
I guess I assumed.
So we reduced it from one
No,
thing
that's
and
true.
pulled it out, but we didn't, it's not an additional.
Actually, we're saving the money because you're not paying sales tax on the 4%.
Yeah.
Which is actually breaking even because the surcharge is $4.20.
Yeah, but I think that's the key thing that people like need to realize. Like, if you looked at your bills before then, you paid the same amount. It's just, it was all on the base.
Oh, I mean, actually, the city kind of actually gave me. Yeah.
What?
If, well, if you think about it, actually, would me, you know, it doesn't matter. I'm not being all about.
Well, I guess we're ready to go.
Ready?
Okay, it's 6 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Tobias, if you do roll call.
Richardson,
Here.
Osby,
Here.
Fire,
Here.
Shooty.
Here. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And, dear Lord, thank you for the great fall weather. And again, watch over all our school kids, school teachers, all our first responders. We appreciate them all. They got quite a job they do for us. And we hope you keep us all safe in the future. Amen. A motion to approve the agenda.
I'll motion to approve, but I want to make a couple amendments. Just remove the second reading of ordinance 332, which is the special appropriations, and move it to next week's special meeting, mainly because Tobias still doesn't have the very final
Okay.
property tax revenue figure or clarification, I guess. And so remove that. And then under streets, I want to add West Ave Trail Phase 3 discussion.
Under streets.
Yep. Do you want me to repeat that?
Okay, Jana made a motion on the agenda to have a couple changes. One is 11A, to drop that off till our special meeting next week on September 18th, and also to add the West Avenue Trail Phase 3 under streets. Is there a second on that?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. And a motion on the financials. If everybody's had a chance to look them over, Jen will explain them later, but
So moved.
you're a second?
Oh, second.
All those in favor, aye.
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 Pose same sign. Motion carried. Is there a motion to approve the claims?
So moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
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 Pose same sign, motion carried. Consent calendar items. Abatement under South Dakota Codified Law 10440, parcel 6648. Can you explain that? Or,
It's an abatement for property tax. This is the only information we can really disclose. A lot of it is confidential because it qualifies under state law. So,
So moved.
yeah.
Move to approve.
Second.
all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. And open
I was
comments.
gonna have you go first.
Please say your name and,
Anyway, I just been kind of watching this. and I've been-
please say your name first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Pamela Jansen is 700 East Fourth Street.
Okay.
I lived here about 30 years. Okay, and I've been trying to get down to some meetings, but it's been just kind of real hectic, and I thought, well, I'd start with this one and ask about, it said the water tower was basically approved in December 2022 by what it says here in the letter anyway. And I was just wondering, I know that, to get the funding for like the projects you had talked about, or, that they've done to do the more of the infrastructure and stuff like that, they had to increase the rates and stuff like that. But I was just worried about affordability. I like mine for one person, and I try not to use any water. It's like $130, $135 a month. And if I do dare water anything a lot, it could be almost $200 a month. And then, I wonder what this water tower is gonna do, how big the rates are gonna do, how is that gonna get paid for, I guess, basically. And how much is that gonna increase everything that, the water, the sewer, all the basic stuff that we are paying for now.
But it gets paid through the water bill, and the state, DANR, that gives us a loan, looks at the city and what the income is for that water department or sewer department, whatever, and they tell us what rate we need to be at or what we have to add on to it. But I just say, we did a study a year ago, and I'm sorry, but if your house caught on fire, there's probably isn't enough water coming out of the hydrant at your house that we'd have to haul, the fire department would have to haul water
Well, I realize that
over
some of
there.
the
I
infrastructure
mean, this is an important deal. It's
have to
not,
be updated.
yeah.
I mean, anyone knows that, that over time things deteriorate and have to be updated or they'll crash.
but I'm on Social Security, and my wife is, our bill isn't any different than yours. We just have to adjust and not do something else.
Well, I know, but it gets to a certain point where it gets so high that I don't want to have to move because of the water bill. And that's all I'm trying to state, that, I know Sioux Falls has a lot lower water bill. They have a lot huge, larger populace, but there has to be an end to it somehow, that, you just can't keep getting, and these are to go on for 30, 40 years. I mean, these increases, by that time, who knows what our water bill will be, You just need to keep in your mind. That,
Water, I can tell you, the price of water's going up like a skyrocket. Wait,
sure.
give it 5 or 10 years. Water is gonna be a big problem for all of us. And so there's other projects going on to run more water from the Missouri River this way. And even states like Oklahoma are trying to pull water out of the Missouri River and send it down their way. But if we don't stay on top of our water, and Minnehaha County Rural Water's done a great job, and they're part of this new water project. It'll probably take 15 to 20 years. It took Lewis and Clark 20 years to get it in, but that water is probably not one thing that's not going to go down, and it's going to be.
Well, yeah, the shortages.
Yeah.
Because of the water, because not getting enough money and then not a lot of other stuff too. So. I just want you guys to kind of keep it in mind, so.
Okay. Anybody else in open comments?
Yeah, that's where you are on the agenda.
Hi, my name is Trish Olthoff. I'm the Vice President of the Crooks Community Child Care Center. With me, I have Mandy, Alyssa, Kelsey, and Jessica. We are all on the board. And this is for your consideration. As you know, the Crooks Community Child Care Center is a nonprofit learning center that's in the process of building a new center. The cost of building this new center is in the millions of dollars. Any financial assistance that the city can offer would be of great help to us in fulfilling this long quest that we've been on for the last 4 years. We are very excited that we are so close to breaking ground and starting to build this long-awaited new center. What we're asking for is your consideration to possibly waiving our building fee, the building construction fee. I can ask any questions. Or we can.
Any comments in the audience or up here at the table?
How much is the fee?
Well, the building is supposed to be $3 million.
It is. And we would,
Well, and the county fee was like $14,000.
Most of that will be paid to the inspector, probably 100% of it. So it's not something that we charge and just put in our account. It's, we have to pay.
I guess what Butch is saying that is if we waive that, you're basically asking the city to subsidize it. Because you're saying, because we don't pocket any of that. Like we already subsidize the building permit inspector, because we don't bring in enough permit fees to cover the cost, especially commercial, which is Jeff Nelson. So basically I'm just trying to put it from our perspective. If we do that, you're literally asking us to just inspect it and just pay it and not bring in any revenue to cover it. I mean, that is what it is. So I don't know. I mean, that's my struggle is
losing money.
What?
The city would be losing money.
The city would
Yeah,
just
and then we're gonna
literally have to pay
raise
for it.
their water rate some more.
I mean,
I guess we were sure of that.
yeah, like literally over 100% of that goes to Jeff Nelson. Like we already, almost every single year we subsidize, we have to supplement that fund
Go ahead.
because the permit fees don't cover Jeff's expenses. I think that's actually on my financial report to talk about the fact that we don't even charge enough now to cover the expense. So that's the problem. Like if it was just like revenue that we had no, just fund money that we could just do something with and had no expenses tied to it, I'd be like, we can probably talk about it. But the fact that we got to turn around and use that to pay Jeff, and if we don't have that there, then we're just dipping into our budget. Because the same thing with the school, I would have loved to give the school a break. I mean, their permit fee was
A lot.
a lot. And I'm sure they would have loved to, because that school is vital to the community too, just like the daycare is. But where you'd have to cut that from someplace else then. And I hate saying that because but I mean, I just want you to understand why it's not just like, money that, it's just that it would have to come from somewhere. Then we'd have to find it from some other budget pool.
Appreciate that explanation.
Yeah.
The cost to know.
Yeah, that's what would, yeah. And that's appropriate for me to say, Tobias, that like 100% of it goes to Jeff, if
Well,
not
80 goes to Jeff.
80% goes to
Then
Jeff.
Administratively, so the cost for the initial permit there is more involved. We have to keep that permit for the life of the structure. So we pay for not only data management software, but still for other staff. So city, really the way we do permits is like to break even. Like, building permits are not supposed to be a money-making venture for cities because in the end, property tax or the value of the structure will, be beneficial. If the fee were to be waived, we would still, as Jan said, would have to pay Jeff, and that would be at his architectural rate, which I would assume is north of $250, I would guess,
An hour.
an hour. So it's not, yeah.
I think until we had Jeff, we had to send the plans to somebody in Rapid City on the school.
Yep.
And they had to, even though it was done by an architect, somebody else like that still has to look at it. And it's not cheap. If it cost us $3,000, it'd be one thing, but we'll pay all that money out. I think we stood up and really, I don't know if you want to call it helped or whatever, but we've gone to bat to get you guys where you need to be and get that building up. I wish we could do something financially. Anybody else have any comments?
I know it, nobody on this council remembers it, but we did waive all the fees when we built the fire station. That was 16 years ago.
We also didn't have Jeff Nelson 16 years ago. I mean, that's an honest
We had
statement.
Darwin.
We had an employee versus a contract, yeah. That's why, if I could sit there and say that that was just money and I had no expenses to turn around and pay it with, then I would say that, but that's a different scenario 16 years ago.
You guys can't. Or no particular action at all.
No. The next thing we do, like their conditional use hearing. That's yours too, isn't it? Yeah.
Anybody else have any comments on that? Really feel like not a good citizen.
I don't
but
either.
We gotta, when you look at the whole budget and then you have somebody more than people than you, and it's like, where does it stop? We have to be, at least cover our costs.
Just need some help at the concession stand and they'll forgive you all.
I'll donate food. And time.
Okay. Well, we'll go on to public hearing. I'll open the public hearing for the Crooks Community Child Care Center, conditional use hearing, operate a daycare in a general business district, address 105 Southwest Ave. And it's the applicant's the Crooks Community Center. And is there anybody, this is a public hearing, is there anybody in the audience has anything to say about it?
I can speak again if you want me to.
I don't think anybody.
I think
It's covered, right? But
Yeah.
I think we've pretty well set the tone for it already.
Close it, yeah.
So anybody up here have anything to say about it? If not,
Are you gonna
if
close the
not, we'll
hearing?
close the hearing.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried.
And then just to confirm, are they on the agenda then for next week's meeting? Or are we done now?
The
we're
18th.
done now.
So we're done, that was the it?
We're-
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
All of your help. We'll
Okay,
get it going.
good.
The only way to break the building permit is to check volunteers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
the evening.
Okay, utility report.
Oh, yeah.
Tobias must have something because
Yes, we do. Leak surveying has been completed, and apparently we don't have any leaks. Further investigation is merited, so we're working on it, but Rural Water came out. I confirmed with Rural Water why because we had hoped that they would be here, right, way earlier in the year, and they were very busy. So I was like, hey, they were going to come out in spring, but they only have 2 trailers, and he said it was all over the place, so that's why it took a little longer. No, they tested off the main, so in case if you guys didn't have
So
water.
that's actually not, I mean, as much as it's nice to hear, it's actually, now we're back to square one.
I have something to add. Okay. I know of a residence on Hannah Trail, that was to be my mom and stepdad, that haven't been billed for a gallon of water in 3 years. Their meter was replaced because it was non-functioning. My numbers brain says that our software should be smart enough to tell us when somebody has recorded 0 gallonage.
It does not, because because we hand entered readings for years.
Oh, right.
And then what happened in this particular issue, the meter was replaced as well as the register, and then the meter stopped working. And that's where the moment you do radio reads, the way the out of bounds report is set up, and that was changed even years ago because 0 usage would not show up as a concerning issue. And if you had recurring usage that was at that level, it would not pop the warning. It does it now. One of the things, speaking with the water, is to potentially look at, there is something attributable to a meter, but Jenny advised today that our meters are not, they switched everything to Neptune about 20 some years ago. So these water meters, they can last up to 30 years. And when we tested water meters, the last time, at least I was part of it, it was at 95%. So the question is, let's say every meter works at 90%, that only explains half of the water loss at that point. Deduct out what's in the main explains another percentage. We're still talking about a significant issue of water that is going somewhere. Whether or not that is, one of the suggestions today was theft. Now, I don't know.
Theft of 40
Water,
million gallons, but you're talking
So,
millions
yeah,
of gallons.
And we were talking once again about like the inconsistent pattern. It's just.
They are now.
Oh, okay.
We got a new meter.
It's, there is.
But my question is this. So that meter has not been working for 3 years.
Well, no, I can't discuss customer accounts.
Well,
That'll be.
they've lived there for 3 years, and my mother has her bills.
It has been working.
Okay.
It didn't quit working. That is the true issue. And that was replaced the first time. And then it was replaced again. But you're pointing to the greater issue that, do we have infrastructure that is not registering correctly? Yes, we do. The only way to address that is with a aggressive meter replacement program. That's the only way. And that's what we're doing with natural gas, hopefully next year. And if we'll do that with water, it's going to be $235 a pop for the register. It's going to be about another $100 for the water meter. So that's $300 that we are looking at. If you guys are willing to say, hey, tackle it that way, we can. It's just like there's a cost associated with it. And
When was that testing that you said they were 95% accurate? When was that done?
well, that was for last year or the year before. And
So
that
not
was
that
all
long.
because
But
it
what
had
does
not
that
direct-
mean?
So that means 95% of the water that's flowing through is being
Being
registered.
metered.
So meters slow down over the life of the meter. They actually don't get faster.
So are they, when they say they're
So
testing those, are
We're
they,
sending them to Minnehaha Community Water Corp. So they have a station where they install the meter and then they check, how accurate it is. We don't just go around and say, oh, here.
no, you lost me.
Okay. So we would remove the meter or test them by removing them and taking them to Minnehaha Community Water Corp.
So we do how many of those?
Yeah, we're talking individual water meters. And really the question here is,
Well, my question to that is, when they say they're 95% accurate,
yeah,
what's the sample size? We're not taking,
well, that'll be a question
50
for
meters.
Jenny, but for the sample size, we're talking 500 meters in order to have what do you want? want to talk p-value, like critical?
Like how many, he's
Well,
saying like
if
how
they're
many
saying
literally were
if
taken
they're
and being
saying the
tested?
meters are 95% accurate,
Well, that's a small sample size. That is not the whole town. And really,
That's what I'm
anything,
saying.
if you really want to do it aggressively, everything north of, I would say, 6th Street would have to be replaced at some point.
probably.
I mean, and we're talking then, $100,000 plus to replace all of the water meters. Let's call it 150,000 based on the current customer count. 160,000.
Which is 5 years of what we're losing.
Yeah, and then, but that's exactly it. That's the other point.
I mean-
The thing is like what we're losing is, in essence, we would have back with higher accuracy. All right.
Well, and the other point is, they were put in 20 years ago, and the average life is up to 30 years. So obviously, they get less efficient, especially into the 20-year, up to 30. So we should have some kind of program to start replacing them. I mean, does that make sense?
Are we in?
Sure that the water leak is coming from the meters. Are we really losing
We
that?
don't know where the
We
water,
don't
that's
know,
the problem.
that's the big problem. We have no freaking clue.
The water lines from the water tower to, was it my place, 4th Street, this 6th Street, is that still clay pipe?
Yeah, but it was.
I mean, what that meter.
Not to,
But we already did that.
But they did the leak testing. My
I
suspicion.
understand the testing, but doesn't just common sense come around and say clay pipe is 40, 50?
Clay is
years old?
sewer.
That clay is
Clay
in
is
very
sewer.
good condition like that. That clay is like not.
I don't know, I would say clay pipe is in good shape after 50 years.
that, but the clay stuff is the sewer.
Yeah.
That,
But the water's all in PVC, I assume, or something? Well, it is all
Yeah.
PVC. It is, yes.
don't we still have a chunk? 4th and, like from 3rd Avenue and up there, are we sure that's? I thought that might have still been some iron pipe up there even. No? Okay.
So, while we're talking on it, Tobias mentioned it, but last week, all a week, and I don't know if they were here the week before, but you noticed Minnehaha Rural Water, I think it was them, wasn't it, or was it the
South
state?
Dakota Rural Water
Was it
came
the
out with the
state?
leak trailer.
Anyway, and Jason stayed with them every day, but they went around and tested every square block and didn't find any leaks. That was the last thing we've taken.
That's what they said today. That's what Jay relayed.
We've taken the meter out of the base of the water tower. That's what Minnehaha Water charges us on, is that meter. And we've had that checked.
Yeah, we got daily readings on that. Part of it can be attributed to our billing because of the overlap in days, but we're trying to get to the last few days of the month, so we have a consistent 30-day.
But we're hovering around that 35%
Well, we're
water,
talking about a 20+% loss.
Thought we were around 28.
20, 30%. And ideally,
Let's
you're
say
at,
23 to 25. We've had months where it is 30+, but those months are rather odd.
and they're winter months.
Like winter months, then less in the summer, then
Which makes no sense.
it comes in waves. And I just,
Doesn't that make sense that it's pipe with the frost and it's on the ground?
well, actually, I mean, if it's frozen in the pipe, we would assume then you would actually have more water in the pipe because water has its highest density is 4 Celsius degrees. So if it's frozen, it would actually, would explain some part of it, but doesn't explain the 20%. I mean, that's, like I said, like, even if all the meters were bad, all of them, let's say they tested 95, I mean, 85, still.
I know,
Give you a great answer.
I know we looked at this once, Tobias, but what is our average loss in a month?
I'd say 22%. So we bought 41 million gallons, so about 800,000 gallons a month.
And a home that irrigates their lawn, what's in, I mean,
Oh, we've seen it all. We've seen hundreds of thousands of gallons used, but let's say the average one uses 30,000 gallons for
Okay.
watering. I mean,
I use 4, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'd say like the average house would be like between 30, let's say 30 and 60,000 when they water their lawn.
With watering.
Yep. And the benefit of it is a lot of the homes that water their lawns are newer. So the infrastructure there.
So they
Which,
have
yeah, which you
infrastructure
should have a
issues.
newer
Yeah.
meter and everything else.
But maybe I mean, I have no great answer, like, well, what, I still am convinced it's the service lines, although I guess rural water would argue with me, but I think that's a culprit.
You think it's what?
I think it's the service lines. I still do. I still think.
Straight to the house then?
Yep, from the curb stop to the house, but rural water swears that's not the issue, but I didn't have a chance to like press them harder on it, because the way they do it, they shut off valves, then they repressurize the line with the water they have in the trailer, and then they listen to it, right? Is that right? And then they know when someone flushes the toilet or something, but ideally, and under perfect condition, no one uses water, right, for that test? When you hear, I have to be honest, that's a perfect, and then you see the drop in pressure, and that way you would assume there is a leak. And since the leak's not in the main, it would have to be in the service line, and rural water said there's no leak. No leaks detected. I'm sure they will produce a report, hopefully.
And, you know, when you talk about common sense, then if you had one, if it was just one service line, you'd think you'd have water coming up to the grass or when they mow or whatever. We haven't had anybody complain about that. We went and checked one house that we knew of, but that one checked out good, and that was a newer house.
How far do the water lines like go out on 4th Street? I mean, do they go down to like out of town at all?
No.
Do you think it's like a broken up field or something?
On East 4th Street,
What?
west
How far out does the city water line go?
to Andrew Drive.
Yeah.
Just down to there.
Connect from the tower, the water tower, or would that be then Minnetonka Water Corp's responsibility? Okay. Yes,
Where do they meter from?
water tower.
It's what's at the tower, okay,
It's in the little building right by
Yeah.
the water tower.
okay.
And they can give us daily readings, and we've asked them for just to see like what the pattern is. Maybe there's some correlation there. I'll say this, I'm not a technical expert on it. Like that would be Ginny and Jason. They would, the onus is on them to like devise what this could be after here. I mean,
Yeah,
I loaded suggestions, and this seems to be, the gospel that these guys produce, which is good. I mean, they do good work, but then what is it now? Because I don't know. I mean, it's frustrating for me as finance officer, city administrator, that we have no explanation for water that's being lost, for like, money that's going really down the drain.
Jake, do you have any other suggestions? We do now.
Yeah, well, I looked into it recently, you have to, bear with me here, but, as far as the rural water testing goes, I think even though they didn't provide any leaks, it's good to kind of cross that off the list. That's always first step. So, I think outlaw taps and metering are probably the culprits for the problem. What's the most confusing part is inconsistency, right? I mean, you expect it to be somewhat linear, where it's consistent the same month, or at least from month to month when you compare years. And I would say, if the meters are 20 years old, that's certainly could something to do with it, but there's almost certainly some taps out there that are just unmetered completely that would need to be resolved. Whether or not something you can just write off a huge project and fix it all, probably makes more sense to do it proactively, a little bit this year, a little bit this year, do a reconstruction project, that'll fix that part, do meters with that, but, if you try to do every meter in town, it's gonna be very expensive very fast.
Yeah. So what we're doing now, I would like to switch to gallon for gallon billing to see if it is the rounding of the software, because you bill in 1,000 increments. Maybe that will explain some of it. We've also gotten a quote for AMI, which we talked about that when we installed the radio read. AMI is essentially a way to interface directly with the meter, so they'll give us like hourly data. So on our end, so I'm trying to find whatever solution, if it is on the billing end, to get that squared away.
But if all that checks out, really what it comes down to is literally what Jake's saying, is that
Yep.
there's a tap running somewhere that's not getting metered.
Well, and that was,
I mean, that's a possibility.
See, and
Somewhere there's,
well, Well,
Or there's
and-
multiple
well,
taps
and
running
that was
that aren't
another
getting
one.
used.
Remember when we started this water leak, like that was one of the suspicions where like there's multiple locations that are not aggressive enough to like produce that soft soil, but where it is running sufficient at a sufficient level. Because just
That's the harder reporting
like a
time.
2-gallon leak, if that runs what the entire month, that's 150,000 gallons. So let's say you have a bunch of those, they're not visible because it really doesn't impact it that much. Well, if you have, say, 5 of those, well, that explains good 750,000 right there. Add in the meters, you know, that'd be.
Well, again, my question is, that sounds plausible. How the hell do we find out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
You know, I'll tell you,
Yeah,
at least it, when you're finding it, I mean, you know, if really big projects, Crooks, wherever, you always find, oh, I know that service was there, oh, it's not needed. Oh, that's been leaking for years. I mean, when stuff's 50 years old, it's kind of the way it works. It seems you guys are maybe a little
and we have,
worse off than others,
Well,
but I mean, it's
well,
kind of,
and you always have to think the city assumed the sanitary district, right? Like we do not know much of like what happened. At least I don't, when the city assumed it, right? Like about those
Oh,
locations.
sure.
Where there could be something, I was like, well, who knows? But then that's kind of a crapshoot then. I'll ask Ginny and Jason, they could come up with another.
so on a grander scale then,
Yeah,
obviously the water meters are they're a perishable item.
yep, they are.
So do we have a replacement schedule for those?
Be a Ginny question, so we're installing all new register heads and then they will look at the meter and see if that needs replacement. That's at least my understanding. So I have
And how,
like a formal plan where we say, that's what we're trying to roll out next year for gas, is we're replacing, let's say, 50 to 100 meters every year, right?
Sure.
Like the one step, just that way, then you can also take the older meters and see if you can test them and see what the accuracy is. It's just, right, the big question is like, are you guys willing to say, you know, that's a cost we're willing to bear? Are we willing to replace 100 meters or 50 meters?
willing or not, I think we have to.
Okay, well,
I mean, if they have a 30-year lifespan, then
well, and 30 years is really, I mean, I think that's, I mean, what I've read, and given it's only book smarts and all, that's very high, 30 years. Jeremy, you're a plumber. Would you say 30 years is high for a water meter? Like 20 years is like what they have for gas meters, and what I've read on water, that's about the same shelf life as like 20 years. And
and
Then
how many
it-
water customers do we have?
we have 530 active water users right now. So we're talking, let's say everyone loses, you know, has a good chunk of them have bad meters. Well,
We know we found some in Palmyra
Yeah.
when we did that job. Like one house had 2 lines, one was disconnected and there were new ones
And that's
in.
the one that was being metered?
yeah.
And they were, but their sump pumps went year round. And that solved the problem. So it'd be easy to find. It's like, let's find out whose sump pumps are running. Well, we checked one house up here in
Mhm.
Andrew Drive. And from what we could find, no leak.
What about the houses where they just don't go into the basement? And I know one that I've heard of that there's water leaking in the basement.
Like at the meter, before the meter? Well, but that's, remember when we talked about, or that's why I said we should just put in what's it called, meter pits? Because really, the city should not have a water meter, in a residence, because it's our infrastructure, they could tamper with it. The meter pit, also, if there's a bad service line, it's on the onus is on the homeowner. You put it in a meter pit, you put the meter in there, and there you go, you know, from there on
How do we
out,
know what it would cost to?
it costs about $1,000 a meter pit. Which,
maybe a little cheap, I think, too.
well, that's what MCWC said. Like, and then I looked online, so it's like, and that might just be just a pit, and then they supply their own labor, so they don't include that, but you would have to excavate, you have to put the meter pit in there, you have to make sure that the meter pit is appropriately installed, you have to have the right meter in there, and then, pillow over it, and then like, it is, I mean, it's expensive, and I would say, do it on a trial run, and I know it's not a great answer, but like, do it on trial to see if that would do something. See if their usage actually goes up for those homes. with like, and we could only do it on like 1 or 2 homes where we don't get access to the residents. We just put in the meter pit behind the curb just to see. Then if you see that their usage goes up, well, then we can say, okay, the service line might be one explanation. But I don't really have great answers besides, like what I read, what other towns, I can say this, we're higher than other towns. By a lot. We're talking 10% higher than other towns. Other
Of
towns have
water
5.
loss?
Yeah, other
Well,
towns
and that's
have
just the thing, there's an accepted loss.
which is up, yeah, up to 10%. I
Right.
think up to 10% would be tolerable. I'm not saying ideal, but tolerable. But we're talking, even, I looked at the use report, even years ago, we're at 15, 16, 17%.
I think the D now allows up to 20 before they consider it a problem.
Yeah, and that's just,
Well, regardless of the water loss issue, I mean, you just brought up another point. We've got meters that are probably beyond their life expectancy, and do we need to have a
There should
meter
be.
replacement plan?
Well, there should be. I mean, yeah, there should be a formal meter replacement plan for water and for gas. It's just, at some point, the infrastructure is just bad. And even if it slows down, I mean, it's still bad, 5% every month, right? Compound that. On these bills.
So, if we do, start a replacement on water meters so many a year, do we need to ask DGR to come up with that plan, or do we just say we're gonna start between 4th Street and First Street?
How do we track our infrastructure?
That's the other problem.
Do we have dates for how old these meters are?
Well, I've asked them to provide those dates, to put them in the software, because we can put an install date in there, and then you
Sure.
can see last maintenance. Well, none of those have ever been put in there. When I started, they were in there, so who knows when that.
They're in there
meter will-
now, like
Yeah,
since,
we're doing it now, and I
Yeah.
asked them, it's like, please supply the information so we can put it in their meter size, brand, everything, so we can produce these reports, because instead of having 10 handwritten ledgers and 50 Excel sheets.
so are you
that-
saying that there are Excel sheets out there and there are handwritten ledgers out there that just need to
I'm
get
speculating, I presume there is handwritten stuff that I would. put
that need to
money
be,
on.
that could be put into the
Could
software?
potentially be digitalized, but they have to verify whether or not they're still accurate.
And if we requested new meters for them, would we want to keep them in residents' house, or do we want to put them on the outside? I mean, that's gotta be a massive expense.
Do you want my opinion?
Yeah,
I want them in meter pits. I know that's unpopular, but we collect, like, put them in meter pits, like, they're outside of the house, we have access to them, and you don't have the issue with the service
And
line.
then, like, say in my house, the water line comes up to the meter and then goes into the water heater, wherever. Who pays to remove the current water meter?
You'd still have a shut off in your house.
Yeah, well, you can even leave the meters in the house, right? I mean, it's not ideal, but, I mean, but that's why you do these. Well, I mean, that's just, I mean, if you put it in backwards, so that's the nice thing about AMI, we would actually have tampering detection. If there is actually theft on board. What was that?
I didn't think you could hear that good.
Well, I can. But yeah,
So the meter pit would have to be 6 foot down too then, right?
it's about 6 foot right behind the curb. But here's the thing too, is like that's just what I think is could provide one explanation. Whether or not that's the gospel is a whole nother question. It's just like, what is the chance you're willing to take? I would say
Who has water meters or water pits?
MCWC hasn't started installing them.
But any town around?
Oh, man, none, because they're so expensive. Like, the only town I know that has, I think, them really consistently is Geddes, which that's probably not a good reference point.
There's some real small towns here where you have more manufactured homes or, homes without suitable basements to put them in, but for the most part, they're not going in a city.
Could you put like a massive water meter pit in, like where the water tower splits off, say it checks the north side of town, the south side of town?
No.
And then you get to say, well, if we have these three up that makes up the main water bill, and here's our loss, or here's our loss.
Oh, like compare it based on sections.
Yeah.
Not
Is that
really.
feasible?
Not really, because your network's a grid for pressure. If you zone it like that, you'd be doing a distribution system of this service. So you kind of one point for the tower, and then
Just everywhere.
it's everywhere.
Yeah, it's a continuous loop.
I mean, it's just for a year, we just probably shut it off. I mean, I know that has the water on certain spots. But if you had to let someone open the valve and connect it for a while, just to test it. How much dollars are you wasting a year? On the low.
So, well, 8 million gallons of 29 cents, 16 and 20,000 a year. And that's only what we're like paying, right? It's not like when you really want to put it into
Look at
perspective.
lost revenue.
Yeah, look, we were looking at the lost revenue, and that's where it really adds up. And that's just,
It's certainly an issue, but, I mean, also
What do
remember,
we bill water at?
it's never gonna be zero. You're
Yeah.
always gonna have water loss, so, I mean, if you were at 10 to 15%, you're doing pretty good.
Right.
So, I mean, under 16,
yeah,
really
but
half of that is probably actual money that you.
we haven't been
You
there.
can correct, so I mean,
We haven't been there an average for
that's,
years.
don't spend $50,000.
525.
Exploration stuff, solve $8,000 problem too. I mean,
How much are we doing?
When you look at, so we're paying
9 cents.
29 cents per thousand.
Yep, well, no, that's what we're going to pay. 29, what is that? 22.
But
Yeah, close.
But
enough.
we're charging 525 per thousand. So when you look at it from a lost revenue standpoint,
Well, it's astronomical. The
Yeah,
lost
then
revenue
then it goes
that's
nuts.
what really stinks. But
that
then
lost
also-
revenue pays for a lot of water meters real fast.
Exactly, and even if you half that lost revenue, say, 10% is just attributable.
Right, yeah, even if we could get down to cutting what our loss is in half.
Exactly, yep, you would. I like to, look, that black truck we bought, like essentially we buy one of those trucks every year. Every so often we just like take it straight to the junkyard. That's pretty much because we don't know where the water goes, so it's just, I wish I had a great answer on like where to start with. I mean, I'll think like meter pits or just meter replacement, even if
I think
that's just a
just
small start,
meter replacement, a scheduled meter replacement.
And then I think, and then to pop on what Eric said, like ideally you do like that for localized neighborhoods, like let's say just Palmyra, you do 68 there. Okay, did that make a difference?
Yeah, I agree too, because if you
Sure.
can sit there and pinpoint the area,
Because
not
that-
just,
Because then that would be great, okay, there you go. With Palmyra, the one unfortunate part is when they did the improvements up there, we did, I don't remember if, what's Midwest Assistance State is kind of when the project was already finalized, they're like, oh, we have a grant to pay for service lines. Residents would have to pay for service lines. Well, back then that horse was kind of out of the barn to say, oh, you want to pay for your service line, because that would have pretty much, expanded the scope of that project. But I know that would be another thing I would reach out to them if we do replacements in the older part of town. Okay, well, here's an option. You want to replace your service line, but it comes at your expense. Issue with the service line. Who's going to pay for their service line? My meter's in my basement. Hence why I'm just this big meter pit advocate. Yeah. Well, but I'll ask Jenny and Jason to devise a formal plan for water replacement, water meter replacement, and gas meter replacement. I'll provide an update at the next meeting. Does that sound fair?
Is that our best next step? When we take the leak test out of it, what's next?
I would do it strategically with like future improvements too, like.
Can-
Palmyra would be a great place to start, you got new water, you got new streets up there.
And it's so separate. Like that's the other part, that railroad like separates the whole area. So
Yeah.
it would just be,
But then another, another very likely culprit would be like Main Street to Fourth, all the way east.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, it makes a lot of sense to do sections at a time and see if we can start narrowing this down.
Jenny and Jason think you do both gas meter and water meter at the same time.
well, we already have a gas meter replacement schedule,
But I
right?
mean,
Oh.
we try-
Oh.
For future going, if you're gonna tear it one year once, I don't need you tearing it for twice. If you can get them to do it both on, if they can come up with a routine, because I'm sure mine from 4th Street South,
no.
I'm sure they're all overdue. 'Cause I look on
Oh,
my,
yeah.
15 to 20 years. I haven't found a place that says 30 years yet.
Yeah, well, and that's why when I heard, and 30 years is only for when the water is like an excellent quality. It's not just, MCWC provides 11 green water, so that's pretty good, but that's still 30 years, I think, I thought was high, but then what do I know about that? And the gas meter would be ideally saying, it's already on the outside, remove it.
Right.
Get rid of, be done with it. Because I mean, the nice thing is that all of the infrastructure, I think, on top of the meters should be compatible with just a meter. Like all of our radio read equipment is just about wiring, so.
So
Have a gas line.
another thing is, even though we did Palmyra, we caught stuff outside, they could still have bad water meters that aren't,
Right,
they're,
right.
so it'd be, where do you start?
I don't know.
I think that Main Street to 4th Street is.
Oldest, yeah.
Count the number of houses and come up with a plan for there, which might be part of the water tower plan if we're gonna replace some water lines. Any other comments on that? Economic development, Mike?
I don't have much to report. CDC is having a meeting on Friday, and Sioux Metro has a meeting next week, so not much activity to report on.
Yeah, our meeting next, on the 18th will be to look at the new layout plan, with planning and zoning for the commercial, on the other side of Diane. And, so that'll give us a pretty good idea what's coming or how many, I know they're gonna add some office buildings in there too. And Mike is a speaker there's a housing forum coming up through SMGA. I believe that's on the 21st.
Yes,
So I'm gonna try and come, listen.
no making fun of me.
Okay.
When did they add the multifamily to that? It wasn't talked about at the meeting.
What's that?
There was variances for multifamily too, to go to R2. We never talked about that at the planning and zoning meeting. All we did was the general business.
I don't think
I'm not aware of multifamily over there.
What the zoning sign says.
They're increasing the general business portion. They're increasing the general business portion. The R2 was always part of their plans. Remember, like 2 years ago when they approved their first preliminary plan, they said that would be the senior living
I
facility.
just wondered because we didn't talk about that.
No, okay.
Is R2 cover senior living?
Yeah,
So that's the
that's why
multifamily,
it's
the
on
senior
there.
living center. Right, not,
The senior goes in, does that have to be R2?
Yeah, that has to be R2.
so it's not, that's the multifamily they're talking about, yeah.
Remember that's why they have to go through the whole hoops again, because during their initial approval, you only wanted to approve the single family residential side until you had plans, because at one point they had, I think, provided an exhibit that showed like apartment buildings or
Right.
something, and that was like a big concern, and that was like, no, we're only doing the R1 at this point until you come with the senior living facility, and then they provided a plan, I want to say in January of this year.
Originally, the multifamily, including the senior living, was about 9.5 acres. And, they're trimming that down to around 7 acres. That's what they need for the assisted living. The rest is going to be,
General business.
general business or professional office buildings.
I don't care, I just wondered how it never came up at the meeting, and then I saw it on the sign.
I can't answer that, I wasn't
So
there.
but
I'm not asking you to answer.
Oh,
the multifamily is
You
not,
already did.
yeah, so the multifamily is not multifamily traditional like we're talking about, it's the senior living. Okay.
Well, when people see them all.
Yeah, and they think twin homes or apartments or whatever, but yeah,
There was apartments drawn in
Yep.
the plan.
yeah. I can see where there would be a concern
Yeah.
about that, but it's the senior living.
okay, streets, we have the slurry seal first pay application. which is a little less than our estimate, and we need a motion to,
Approve, to pay 90% of the slurry seal pay application, because there's some, work, they still have to, clean up some areas, put some oil down, so.
Raleigh from the city of Sioux Falls was out here this morning and went with Chad and looked at all the streets for any, touch-up or redo. So, Raleigh at Sioux Falls kind of watches all the small towns, because it's all under the Sioux Falls contract. So he's helping all the small towns do that. We'll turn a punch list into ASCO, and they'll have to come out and fix those before they're 100% paid.
You happy with it, street guy?
So a motion to approve, do we need to specify the 90% in the motion or
Yeah.
just motion to
Yeah,
approve?
90%, 10%
Okay, so I'll make a
retainage,
motion to
but
approve, oh,
are we sure these are the correct figures?
They haven't been field verified by us. So,
Just,
why you think it's too,
no, when you look at here, second, the polymer modified slurry seal type 2, it's $16,000 lower than what they quoted in the contract, which is fine. Yeah, no, I'm just saying, it's,
Their bill is lower than what we thought we were gonna have to pay.
I make a motion to approve paying 90%.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Planning and zoning, I just wanted to put it on, is that where we're at now? Oh, the Main Street right away. Yeah, sorry. I wanted to put that on there too. It's something we need to look at and talk about. The baseball fields are gonna go in on the other side of the fence from where the rodeo grounds was. And, we have to look at just keeping a, 100-foot right of way all the way back to that fence for utilities. And, I don't see why the city should spend any money for any asphalt or curb and gutter on that short piece that goes nowhere. From the
You
railroad
lost
track,
me.
from the railroad track
Okay,
east,
off of Main?
it is Main.
Continuing
They're
meeting.
good, okay.
Yes.
Continuing Main east of the railroad tracks.
Yeah, Main, asphalted Main would stop at the railroad tracks. And we just continue on with 100-foot right of way back to the fence where the rodeo grounds was, because the baseball diamonds are gonna be there. You can't drive through them.
Right. Do we have a right of way there now at all?
Yeah, it's not platted.
I think a portion of it does go east of the track.
Well, yeah, like the little portion there, right? Stuff that just hops across the railroad tracks, right?
It's not.
Anyway, we don't have to decide tonight. I just wanted to refresh everybody's mind on that, so we can, something we need to do. I just don't think the city needs to.
You just can gravel that then?
It's private property. We'll just have a right of way, 100-foot right of way through there. For any.
Where's 100 feet gonna get you?
Why wouldn't we just dead end? Is that what you're thinking?
Well, that's
Is it 100
standard.
feet wide or 100 feet long?
100 feet wide. Jake, can you help me out there? Maybe you only need 50 feet wide, I don't know.
Well, it depends if it's gonna be for utilities only, or for an access to baseball or whatever that might be, so. There is a right of way that extends east of the tracks, it's kind of unorthodox. Looks like it's 66 feet wide.
Okay.
How long does it go east?
From the railroad tracks to the end of the rodeo ground property.
About 300 feet. Just shy of 300 feet.
300 feet from the railroad tracks?
Yeah.
Now what?
But that's just an easement.
No, that's right of way.
That's right of way.
Does that tell you you're gonna get to the ball field?
No.
No,
Oh, okay.
because you'll be driving, there'll be a
Off
third
Fourth
base
Street.
or an outfield right there on the other side of the
So how
fence.
you get to the ball field?
Off of
Off
Fourth
Fourth.
Street.
So. Hang on.
The way the ball diamonds are set up,
It can't be an access, yeah, because you literally would dead end at the baseball fields, right?
right,
Yeah.
they had one drawing where you had fields on the north side and fields on the south side of Main Street if it went through. Well, you don't want that,
Mm-mm.
so they redrew it. So there's no street through there, and the street would come in off of 4th Street, right on the east side of, the grove of trees or that last house. Julie Dirks owns the land. I've talked to her. I told her we need, what, 1 or 2 acres or something to put a road in there to the baseball diamonds, and she was fine with that. We haven't discussed price. We're talking 4 more years from now before we even have the property paid for.
Do we need utilities on the other side of the railroad tracks off of Main Street?
Is that the only way we get like light power and if we put bathrooms up in the ballpark, that's the only way that have to get to the.
We get water there, and
Not off of, not coming in off of 4th?
You don't want them around. Nothing, lost. Yeah.
How, I mean, is there utilities running up to Banworth's property now?
no, just gas.
Okay.
Utilities stop right on the east side of the railroad tracks where the old elevator office was.
Well, that's not 300 feet. That can't be.
Well,
I mean, maybe, say maybe 300 feet.
skip over here quick and look at the map. I just brought it up.
Right.
So it goes to his property line.
And we're worried about graveling it, or what are we worried about doing?
Worried about just not doing anything and keeping it right away so we can get utilities through there if we need to.
Yeah, by 2.
What do we have to do to get an easement through that property?
Or what you also can, is you can put it together, don't find anything.
It's right away.
I
You have a
am
right of way
so
through here?
confused.
Already?
Was there something recently, or is this a conversation?
Just a conversation.
This is a conversation, yeah, we're not voting on anything tonight.
I know somebody had requested something recently.
So like we've got a right of way through the middle of his land?
Yeah,
Property was split with McKinney and.
I thought like Kenny on both sides of it, and then going to that little section.
I don't think there's a dedicated right of way through the rodeo ground, is there?
No,
It doesn't show it.
No.
Well, it ends after the railroad, right? Like right where the little cutout piece, that's where the right of way ends, right? Like according to GIS?
I have to do more.
The water shutoffs are on the east side of the railroad track. The elevator office had sewer, bathroom. So does the, office that Austin is using now as a bathroom. So they both end right about where the door goes into the old elevator office to the south. And the gas was taken down to just into the railroad or the old rodeo property, and stopped there. But yeah, this is just conversation. I didn't want to be forgotten about, that it's something we'll have to work out.
What happens if they don't want to give you an easement?
Pardon?
What happens if the landowner doesn't want to give you an easement?
Good question. I don't know. Haven't talked to them. I'm sure they would, but, that could change. So anyway, that was just to bring up to talk about. So if people want to do some background work on that. Next thing is planning and zoning.
West Ave Trails.
Oh, yeah. I amended the agenda to add this to the streets.
Phase 3, yeah. The phase 3,
And Jesse can talk about that.
who?
Jesse.
I hate, Jesse's wired together.
I've been leading the design of the phase 3 shared use path here. We've had some good discussions with the city, as our design has progressed. And we have come up with a few options to tie in our shared use path with the school. Option A, you can see runs on the north side community center here. That would potentially tie into where the current school sidewalk, comes out here on 10th Street. Otherwise, we had proposed a school landing here where the school sidewalk comes up to the existing parking here. Just looking for any feedback, input on that. That's one of our hot items, I guess. We are still continuing to develop these plans, and we are preparing in the next couple of weeks to submit 60% submittal to.
So it's for sure gonna go from pumping stuff to Diane Street, right?
That is correct.
The path,
So
yeah.
we're looking at two options, either hook up to this path that comes up to the parking lot. Makes more sense to me to do 10th Street, keep the kids there and hook up to this sidewalk here. Otherwise, we're routing them into our parking lot. That's my opinion. I think that path was put in up to the parking lot so we can each use the parking lot if there's an overflow for, when it comes to activities. I don't think it was put in there for kids to come walking through the parking lot.
So I got a question. How much, what was because this has already been awarded, right? Or no?
No.
Well,
The grant funding has been awarded.
the grant fund has been
but
awarded.
This has not been submitted for review and final approval by the DOT.
And the grant has, I mean, but
Grants pegged, no, this may not be grant eligible, just to point that out. This.
that's what I'm asking, like,
This would be like putting it in the plans and then have DOT make the decision. I think that's why you have the costs here in the back for if
Right.
it's straight out of pocket, option A, option B.
but we don't know that it would necessarily be straight out of pocket.
Exactly. You
That's
would-
correct.
Yep. You would have
DOT
to see
could-
what they
We're
say.
just looking for a preferred option from the city.
And you need to know tonight?
Almost want to put in both.
I want both.
Put in both.
I mean, I'm being
I mean,
serious.
Yeah, put them both in and see what they say.
I'd say
If they-
both, because, I mean, I see what you're saying, Butch, we don't want to direct kids to the path, but, we're gonna have more kids crossing there, and I think for those kids that are coming across from this new development, they would cross here and they would take this. You know what I mean?
I haven't been to school, but does the back of the school get used more or the front of the school get used more?
The back gets used quite a bit.
Because all the kids that are coming
This one
from,
on Susan gets used quite a bit, right?
and this one's not probably getting used very much now, however,
Well,
I
that one
mean-
gets used too, because people like cross. through
People
the
cross.
Parking lot, and then we
Right.
have, and to your point, there's just the family over there that actually walks up to that landing. there.
right, I mean, you're gonna get more and more kids that are crossing here close to Diane.
The school actually went over and asked them people to have their kid drive the bus
Who?
for years. Because they don't want them, there's some of them are little, they don't want them.
Oh, I can understand that. Yeah, I wouldn't want to send my little kid across the highway. But we,
Send the bus over.
yeah, but I think we gotta remember too that this path, I mean, yes, it's a huge advantage to the school, but it's also just for the general use of the community. And so, I mean, I don't know. I mean, does it hurt anything for us to ask for both? I mean, it doesn't,
I mean, if you show them both for this submittal, this would be better for this from the DOT, and then knowing that budget will control, we can actually stop picking through the.
Yeah.
that would be my preference.
Okay. Got that answer? Now, planning and zoning, something else I wanted to bring up was a connection to Willie Drive. That was never put in by the developer back in the day. And now, Van Buskirk isn't coming as fast as I thought he was gonna come around, but we do have to decide how we're gonna handle, 150 feet or 200 feet?
About 250 feet, I think.
250?
So when we had a CHRC meeting last month, and Van Busker did come out, Brian did, and we talked about several things, but most of it was on their schedule and planning. They don't envision that loop around that will connect Willie Drive. They don't envision that until probably at least 24, maybe 25, or excuse me, at least 25, maybe 26. I forget what year it is. Next year, they basically didn't really do anything for extending out there this year. They plan to go the rest of the way down and what is it, Ivy Lane back there or whatever, that heading back north on that a ways. And they're budgeting that for like spring next year. So they've got a lot of fix-up work to do because they were pretty much ready for it already, and then they let it sit. So, but that's their plan. I did discuss with Brian, it makes sense for the both of us as partners that when whatever that phase is done, if that's in 25 or 26, that we would be able to, they would do the work planning, scheduling, and everything else to do that connection, the Willie Drive connection. And then we would have to fund it, of course. But then there potential for cost savings if we did it as a project on our own, you know, mobilization and all that other junk that goes in with it. So it would be a less expensive way to do it, and it would get it done when the last of the streets go in. So, but I had, like I said, I've had that conversation with both Steve and Brian, and they're very much on board with it. We would just have to pretty much wait till they're ready for it.
So basically, wait till they're ready and work something out on a cost share.
Yeah.
Can they pave East 4th Street while they're at it?
Okay, well, I just wanted, just didn't want to forget
Can
about
I
it.
talk about something that's not on the agenda, or no, because I don't need action on it. I just,
A free-flowing
okay,
meeting.
it's a free-flowing meeting. This came up again, and I think we just have to, I don't know if we have to just formally ask the township, but again, a citizen talked about the fact that if you're heading west on 4th Street, it's 35 miles an hour. If you're heading east on 4th Street, it's 25 miles an hour. And so that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It should be 25 going both ways. Technically, the north side of that road is township. So it's not really appropriate for us to just take down a sign and put up a speed limit sign, but I don't know what the proper procedure is, if it's just a matter of getting the township's blessing. And it doesn't, I don't know how formal that needs to be, but it doesn't make sense.
I think just go to their meeting and ask. I'm sure they all want to all together make a decision, not just one.
Because that's becoming a busier and busier street, and it just doesn't make sense. Depending what direction you go determines the speed limit. So.
No different than the highway going out of town.
Yeah, and I think I saw somebody on Facebook commented that they were going to reach out to the county. So hopefully I can ask Jacob that.
Going north?
Yeah, going north.
They're waiting for signs. They talked to Jacob
Okay.
Maris. As soon as the signs get in, they see they got a lot to put up around the county, but they are gonna get that corrected going north.
Okay. That was my only thing.
It's better than it was 55 coming in.
Yeah, at least it's not 55. That's true.
All the township wants is that it basically stays a truck route so they can move their farm equipment up and down when they're farming. That's their biggest concern. I don't think
changing the speed limit while they're in the city limits is gonna change that.
And when the dairy comes to chop that hay or this year, they go west most of the time now, back out of town. They have come to West Avenue and gone out of town, but most of the time they're going west, I think, just to avoid traffic or congestion in town. Parks, Mike?
Oh, government buildings.
Oh,
Yeah,
Sorry.
the only thing that we're working on getting a committee together to finalize the shot and bring them forward. So that's all.
I think, Eric's name was mentioned, and, Andrew Henning, and Chad, and Alan, people that know something about, equipment and shops. Uh, So I think that's the best way maybe to come back to the council with it.
Yeah, we got to be fine. We'll get it together.
Okay, now parks. Anything else, Alan? I'm sorry.
Well, we're flag footballing. That's, if you haven't been down there on a Tuesday or Thursday or a Saturday, you should go check it out. It's, crazy the amount of kids that are down there. If you haven't seen it on Facebook, they got a company in this year that's doing action photography, and they made a hype video for it, and it basically shows the flag football provided them. Here's where the kids are coming from, and it shows what a regional impact that is. I mean, there's kids from Hartford, from from Lenox, all over Sioux Falls, Del Rapids, Baltic. Basically, every community within 40 miles of Crooks is sending a kid to Crooks flag football.
340 kids this year.
Yeah, it's just crazy what that's turned into. And
The photographer on Saturday alone, they sit out there for 8 hours and take pictures. They took 4,500 pictures on Saturday alone, just trying to capture. So it's pretty amazing.
Kids get to make their own trading cards out of them and stuff. It's cool. It's really cool. But in the larger sense, that also rolls into an economic development thing for our community as well. I mean, all the different nonprofits that are down there running the concession stands, and I mean, you look here at the gas station on Saturday mornings, and there, I mean, there's a flood of cars in there. So it's a good thing all the way around. Other than that, I kind of surveyed the ball groups the last month, both Tri-Valley and the Tri-Valley Baseball Association and the varsity softball stuff up at school. Got some ideas for some improvements that we can make down there that I told them we could make improvements as long as it didn't cost me anything. So they just some little things. Sometimes we get a little doom and gloomy about what we've got. We've got nice parks. We've got nice baseball fields. We've got awesome football fields. There are things we can improve on, and so we're looking at some of the kind of the little things that will make a difference. So other than that, we're a little dry this year, but the fields don't show it. Even the baseball fields and stuff that don't have irrigation on them don't show it. They're in really good shape. Both of the ball fields down there have been used by junior football for the last month and a half or so for practices because of the condition of the practice fields up at the high school. And I was kind of amazed. I went cruising around out there the other night just to see if they're getting it tore up, and it really looks good. I'm kind of surprised. So other than that, parks will be getting shut down here in the next month or so and buttoned up for the winter.
Okay, thank you. Jana?
Finance, I'll hit some highlights here. We already talked about we're going to move the appropriation ordinance to next week, just so Tobias can get us final information from the county. Expenditures are expected levels for all of our functions. Revenues are expected levels, if not higher. No major developments on the expenditure side. Highlight is 100% of sales tax revenues have been met, but a lot of that is realize that access side control. Obviously, we still would need sales tax revenue in this town, but hopefully, what we hear next week at the meeting from DWBP will shed some light on what could potentially be coming in the future. The only fund that we may need to do some special appropriations for, I don't know what's going on with the welcome sign, but that maybe requires some additional appropriations. Slurry seal, we talked about that, that's been complete, which came in lower than expected. Revenues are on track in the special assessment fund. Water fund, obviously the water tower project, but beyond that, well, we didn't foresee any major outflows, but now after the conversation tonight, that might change if we decide to move forward with a water meter replacement schedule. Water loss, we talked about that already. Ongoing projects for sewer, East Side Lift Station, sanitary sewer expansion, both substantially complete, which is no change from last month. And just remember, and I think we all know that, that we are setting aside specific surcharges for the sewer fund, for the clean water 4 and 5 surcharges. DRS, that has moved officially, so no change from last month. Tobias reached out to Northern regarding any future TBS or kayak amounts that might be due. Hasn't heard back, correct? And then I keep thinking we've approved this, the CD. So we still need to approve opening a CD? Or we did approve opening a CD?
We opened the CD for 250.
We did open, okay,
Yeah.
that was on my notes, okay. Otherwise, I think that was it. Did I miss anything, Tobias, that you wanted to?
Highlight came in today, Northern is refunding the money that they billed the city because they had a rate case pending.
Oh, yeah.
So they increased their rates, they're cutting the check finally.
Oh, okay,
So
good news.
was positive.
That's all I got.
Okay, well, if we can, hopefully in 24 and 25, we can stick to the budget that we're gonna pass next week. And of course, we'll have a different one for the next year, but my thoughts were if we could stick to that, by then maybe we could do some of these projects everybody wants. And so, if we can stick to our guns in 24 and 25, hopefully that opens up some cash for us that some of it won't be coming in now. It'll be come in the form of sales tax, and some will be property tax, but that's my goal anyway.
Can I circle back?
Yeah.
Jan has brought up something with, so utilities. Where are we at with the lift station project?
They recently mowed weeds, sprayed weeds out there. We're gonna be seeding in the next week or so. The electrician is just finishing up, and then we're gonna do a lift station startup. And then outside of that, asphalt paving and asphalt to take place. And then we're gonna get natural gas fund on there. So that's kind of the list of 5 or so things that are outstanding. Seeding is the kind of the one that, we're waiting for the right window to do it. The other stuff, they've definitely not been as ambitious as we would have liked. So, still tracking to get it done this fall, but slower than expected for sure.
Okay. Sorry.
That's fine, because I have a question now. On 11th Street, or, I don't know if you talked to Van Busker, but where they left off with asphalt, we're gonna need that gravelled down to where we put asphalt going to the lift station, so we can get to the lift station in all weather, so,
They're aware of that.
okay.
Yeah, they've been informed, I guess I'm sure that they've talked to Mike about it too, but.
Yeah, Brian just mentioned it. I think maybe he had talked to you that day, because he said you guys were kind of bouncing messages back and. Would have been, like 3 weeks ago, maybe? Yeah. So, yeah, they're aware of it, and they know they're gonna handle it.
The same outfit we consultant state projects, do it for them. So there's a little bit of, you know, a lot of area, we'll have a lot better here for it.
One more thing that I was mentioning, so we do still have costs that are gonna probably occur for the moving of the DRS. On
This one, the 258 one,
58.
yeah, still a few left.
Two left?
A few left.
Oh, few, okay.
There's gonna need some more fence or protection around those, gas pipes that stick up out of the ground.
Okay.
Especially the biggest one to the west, so the horses don't reach over the top and, yank. Anyway, so, Jenny's working with the Boysons, and I think Mike Kappas is gonna do the, whatever needed to
Fencing.
raise it higher.
Do they have the gas and electricity down there now? To the pump?
On the,
The gas isn't, I don't think.
Electric is, you guys,
Yeah.
isn't.
The third, there wasn't any there.
Electric?
Yeah.
That's been there for a month.
That's been done.
And he was wiring it.
Well,
The service is there.
yeah.
Might not be hooked up.
I was wondering, electric construction was wired on it, on the control panel. He said there wasn't electricity or gas down there.
There's no transformer yet.
Yeah.
They're just sticking out, I was down the Jubilee.
The wire is there, the transformer pad's ready to go, it's just, the transformer's not set, but they have it, so it's on the.
How many of them houses on Levitt Street are going that way, as far as draining? Any of them?
Currently built,
Yeah.
3 or 4, I think.
Okay, I've had a few people, and on holidays, Crooks is pretty quiet, I want to tell you. Everybody seems to leave town, which is great. Yeah. But I've had some people, older people, but anyway, they've asked about the fireworks. Why do we give so much time, so many days? And so I promised I would bring it up. It doesn't have to be decided tonight. I just wanted to bring it up so you can think about it. But,
What do we give for days now?
I'm looking that up right now.
June 29th, 30th, July 1st.
an example,
It's like 5
Colton,
days.
Colton does the 3rd, 4th, and 5th,
And
done.
December 31st and January 1. It used to be 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and then they amended it in 2015.
I think, if I remember right, I think it got amended because it's on sale, right? That's what the
Yeah, I
selling
think that's
days.
when the state of the,
27th and 28th of June starts.
Yeah.
We're matching basically the state
yeah, the sales.
sale dates, but it, yeah.
So I brought it up, and,
Do you know what ordinance number that is?
What, oh,
Fireworks or around?
well, I thought it was like 72 was the original one, and then it was amended by 200 something. I mean, it's another one of those.
I just see if I can find it quick.
I should just click Control F.
Yes, Tobias, don't use your smarts on me. Found it.
You're welcome.
so,
Which means it stays thing.
That's okay.
That's exactly what I meant. Thank you, Tobias. Yeah, so right now it's, between the hours of 9 a.m. and 10:30 p.m., June 29th through July 2nd. And then again on July 5th, and then 9 to midnight on July 3rd and 4th.
so basically the 29th through the 5th.
Yeah, basically. And then December 30, like New Year's
Yeah.
Eve. So the
That one
29th through the 5th
everybody's
is a
got
pretty,
their
is a pretty
windows
long, it's a
shut.
long week.
It's a long week,
Yep.
if you have pets or if you're older, and
Yep.
there are a few, PSTD, Vietnam vets in town that don't care for it, but I just bring it up. We can put it on the agenda anytime to make a change, but I just,
Basically, it
again,
would need to be on the agenda before April, right, Tobias, ideally? Because you would
Come
have
again?
2 readings and
If
it would
you
need
want-
to be on the agenda before April.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to amend it.
Yeah,
uh,
okay.
Okay, other business, and we have surplus items. You should have a sheet. And, stuff we need to get rid of, but we need to have, what, 3 people?
Yeah, we need to appoint 3 property owners. of
So
this committee.
Bill, Jim, and Jeremy.
I don't want none of it.
Okay,
No, you have to decide what it's worth.
yeah.
Do you have it in front of you?
These guards and stuff.
Sneeze guards and metal filing cabinets and
Did you get the
old
list?
desks.
I saw that.
Basically,
Yeah.
anyway, we're paying a storage unit we shouldn't pay for, and the rest of it, we're sticking the garage back here, but, all you guys have to do is each write a number for the total or for each one?
For each one, but we can also do it via DocuSign.
$1.
Because that was like the whole plan, it was like
50
cents.
cents.
Yeah.
Put on that big iron and see what you get for it.
Oh, what? See, and that's the plan. That's the plan, it comes, because it's all,
Big iron's a good thing.
yeah.
It's all kinds of junk.
So what literally has to happen?
Big iron.
So you have to declare all of the surplus, and then
Yep.
you have to appoint a surplus board, and the surplus board, they have to be property owners in the municipality.
Okay.
I know last time it was, I think, Mike, you and Alan, and,
So it can be us, it doesn't
yeah,
have
it
to.
can be, I mean,
Okay.
as long as you don't have any interest in
As
procuring
long as you're
these
not gonna bid
fine
on it,
items.
No, I have no interest.
or your son or daughter.
I mean,
So I make a motion to declare surplus property.
Okay.
Yes, I second.
Is there a second to approve this as surplus
I'll
property?
second.
understood.
Okay, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Those same sign, motion carried.
So who wants to volunteer to be one of the 3 that assesses it?
Give me a sheet, Butch, I ain't got nothing better to do.
Okay, well, there's the first one.
Huh?
There's one.
Would I get like
There's
18
one.
bucks an hour there?
Just write a number.
You get,
Well, you want to appoint that board before that assessment.
Yeah, well, we need to appoint anybody else, does anybody here want to do it?
will you, hey, look at me. Will you 3 do this quick?
Will you 3 do this quick? Can you do that?
Do you all own?
Move.
I don't care.
Okay, they're the board.
They're the board. I just moved to appoint
Ours to-
Second.
Jeremy, Jim, and Bill as the board.
Okay.
See what happens when you are a regular at the meetings?
And put a value behind each line. Do not put a cumulative value.
Oh, did you hear
Under
that?
any circumstances,
Has to be a value per line,
yeah.
not a total.
If it doesn't
Okay,
sell,
there's
then we
3
just
things
drop
we
it
just
off
want.
at your place.
Could be $10 to the whole thing.
So so the first line would be the 3
No, value behind each line.
behind
Do
each
not-
line.
Listen to that
Do
guy.
not put a cumulative value on this that goes
Yeah.
above 500. Number after each line.
Number on each.
So a value of the 3 sneeze guards, a value of the 1.
3 as a group, though, we don't.
Yeah, no, the 3 is 1 line. Yes, correct. Not each of the 3.
Really, ideally, you put a value for each item. Like, so 3, what is each of these sneeze guards worth?
Yeah, that's what I meant. No.
Yeah.
So what's the value of each of those items? You don't have to sit there and take it times 3, but like each sneeze guard is worth this amount.
$1, $1.
0, 0, 0,
0, 0. Can you say 0?
Yeah, you can say 0.
You can say 0 if you want to.
But the sneeze guards, they're good money when we bought them. Like, so-
Hey, COVID's coming back.
Yeah, that was COVID money. That was-
Yeah, you better save them.
Well, I still got COVID. All I have on my desk.
I can't go a week.
So can I, have a first reading while they're doing that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, first reading of ordinance 333. An ordinance of the city of Crooks, South Dakota establishing provisions for the refund of retail sales and use tax. And resolution 2023-15, a resolution of the city council of the city of Crooks to adopt a general fund operating reserve policy. Does that have to be voted on?
You want to give us just a quick breakdown of that?
Essentially, GFOA recommends 2 months of recurring expenditures based on your appropriations to be set aside in reserve. This is pretty much based on that 2 months, which would roughly, based on our current appropriations ordinance, equal about $104,000. But that would all be set aside right away in increments. I mean, I don't think this is necessarily a project that can be completed in a year or so. This will take a while, and then with each successive budget, you have to add less in there, and then if you deplete it, it's just really, if we want to start doing it on a monthly basis, it'll be about $8,000. I think that might be a bit aggressive with the general fund. Don't know where we're sitting at, but I just so
It's basically
start.
just saying it's something we want to start.
Yeah.
They have to put their name on it.
Yes, name and address.
You guys put your name and address on there too. Social security number also.
Yes. That was-
I'll make a motion to approve the
You
resolution.
need information, Butch?
Second.
All those in favor of resolution 2023-15?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. How come I can't adjourn until these guys are done, can I?
Oh, no, you can't. They're already.
Okay.
Yeah, because they're outside of the.
Mike,
Move to adjourn.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. You do have to put your name on it though.
Name and address.
Yeah. No, for you, it's Visa. For Jim, I want his MasterCard. And Jeremy, I'll take his American Express card number.